Okay, here's I don't know if this is a new wrinkle. This would be another wrinkle, you might say, in the trying to survive. I raise cattle. Most of you know that. I've got sheep, cows, chickens, cats, and dogs. Pigs gone. The horses are gone, but that's plenty. I raise grass fed beef. Right now, I just raise it for one guy. He buys most of it, and yeah. Anyhow, and my family, we keep our freezers full. So if you're a prepper or a homesteader or something like that, all that's fine and good. The new issue I have to deal with, it's not new, I had to deal with this the last two go-arounds, but now it's gotten worse, is having someone come out and process the animal. Kill them, skin them, quarter them, and then the meat locker. They do the packaging and then bring it home, put in your freezer. Simple system, not a big deal. But after the lockdowns, everybody out here wants to have a side of beef and fill their big freezer. That's just, I mean, for a while there, I remember spending 3-4 months trying to find a freezer. So the lockdowns messed up everything. And everyone's participating now in buying beef or whatever, filling up their freezers and all that. There's a lot more competition. What we don't have is more people doing the processing. There's basically one guy with a really good reputation. The other ones I just don't trust. I don't know them well enough because they've had issues. Same thing with Meat Locker. There's one Meat Locker that I go to, and the other ones I've had issues with. You're not getting your meat back. Anyhow, that being said, the last time I had some animals, some bulls slaughtered, I waited over a year. Typically, you take about 3-4 months. Say, hey, put me on the list. What do you got going? I'll be out there in March, 3-4 months away. So, okay, they'll be ready and we'll set up. Then it got to where it was over a year. You had to plan it where, hey, what could we get on the list? So I'd be out there about a year and about 13 months. Ooh, okay. I got four steers out here. That'll be ready in a year. I called him about a month and a half ago. I texted him, hey, get me on the list. I got 4 bulls, 4 steers. He says, I can't take any more names. I'm like, what? He goes, well, he says, the meat locker's full up. They can't take any more. It's almost impossible to do what they've got. And they're over a year. They're not taking any more cattle. They won't even take I'm going to start a list for 26 yet. He said, what I'll do is I'll put you on a list for cancellations. See if something like that fits. I said, well, they're a year off before they're big enough anyway. So, but after that, we'll start over and see what happens. So I have no guarantee I'm going to get these slaughtered. Now, doing it myself, I won't. It's too much work. And I don't have a place to take them. I'm not even set up to, that's a lot of meat. Let's say you could slaughter your own steer. The drying, the hanging, and all this kind of stuff, if you know how to do that, you've got to be prepped for that. I'm not. Not to that scale. So that's the new wrinkle. I'm not dealing with a drought this time. I'm not dealing with the price of diesel, hay, and feed, or whatever. I can't get someone to do the slaughtering. Okay. And I'll figure something out. I've got a year to dig somebody up. I might have to take them out of county, take them somewhere else, drop them off to someone, and have them do it, and then go back and pick it up. That's probably where I'm going to end up. Because I know there's someone south of me that has a pretty good reputation, and we might do that. But they're probably busy as well. So we'll see what happens. If you're in a situation where if you're some homesteader type and you're going to have your own meat, you can't get it done, then you can't get it done. You gotta go more primal, I guess. Reason I bring this up is every time there's either a coming election, something's gonna bad, or we go to World War VII, or whatever the case is, and I always get my prepper instincts start, popping off. I know I got my chickens. I can handle those myself. And I know I got my sheep. I always keep too many sheep. Like I said, a friend of mine was complaining about it. He said, why don't you sell all the sheep? I said, well, that'll keep me from going hungry. I can slaughter those sheep myself. And it's such a small amount of meat, 40 pounds, that you could use your existing freezer or fridge and all that to dry the meat and everything else. You can buy a book, watch a video. If you can clean a deer, you can clean a, there's some other characteristic differences. If you can clean a deer, you can clean a sheep. Then it's just a matter of how you want to cut. I'm not worried about how do you cut it perfectly and all that. I'd chainsaw that sucker, put them out in sections and put them in the freezer. I'm not worried about that because I'm looking at it from a survival perspective that, okay. But anyhow, if you were planning on, doing this thing in the future, and you're having all your own meat, in a perfect world, you can have all that done for you. But what if it's not perfect? What if you can't get your animal slaughtered? Okay, what if it's too big or too large to either handle yourself or to preserve it all? Sheep, I'm not a fan of goats, but sheep and goats, you can do that all day. It's small enough. It's not a big commercial event. Whereas you could, 40 pounds of meat at one time, you can handle that. 400, 500, 600, 700 pounds. That's, you could waste a lot of that. So it's for me, for the future, and I'm going to reduce the herd again. I think I'm going to get down to 3 cows at a bull. And then, or if I keep what I got, or if I don't bring new heifers in, just start selling the babies. It just depends on a couple of factors. But I'm going to get a smaller. My cows aren't that much work because they're trained so well. They know what the routine is. The sheep can be a pain sometimes. But for me, the future, I got to focus more on my sheep. I'm going to focus on getting just a different. I like these Dorpers. They're smaller. They're easier to handle. A lot of meat. They get fat real easy. And that's probably where I'll go. But I just want to improve the bloodline somewhat because I get too many mixed. Several years ago, probably over a decade, I had Barbados black belly sheep. I don't like them at all. And that's when you see my sheep, they're kind of half crazy. It's the Barbados in them. So anyhow, I'm just saying, if you had food production in your future, I hope you like lamb sheep because it's if you really had to get down to it in a situation where there's no one coming to help you, you can handle sheep. You can get that done. I think it's a better investment. Depending on your environment, they're rapid producers, good weight gainers. You get the right ones. For me, sheep is where it's at. I'll always have beef around because that's what I sell. But if things got crazy, sheep is where it's at for me. Anyhow, just want to share that with you. Love you. God bless.